Shout out, show us you got New England pride, stand up. Shout out, show us you got New England pride. Show us, show us, show us you got New England pride. I said, show us, show us, show us you got New England pride. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it's time for another episode of New England Pride TV, and I'm joined by the lovely Tina. We have a great show coming at you. We've got some terrific guests. Who do we have coming up?
We have Bill Moore.
Bill Moore, who's the president of Project New Hope, the work with veterans in your area.
And Sandy Haddon.
Singer-songwriter Sandy Haddon is going to be here performing for us.
John Troba.
Who is going to be our coming events co-host.
And we have Out with Joe.
We'll be reviewing a restaurant in your area.
And Lady Sabrina.
Answering all your questions about love. All that and more coming up on New England Pride TV.
New England Pride TV with Dale LePage is brought to you in part by the Hanover Theater for the Performing Arts, Remax Vision Realtors, Shancakes, Cruise Planners, New Over Restaurant, Safe Homes, Bay State Savings Bank, and Paul Chasen Interior Design. And now back to New England Pride TV with Dale LePage.
We are here now with Mr. Bill Moore, who is the president of Project New Hope. And we are so glad to have you here because we're going to learn so much about Project New Hope, and we're going to learn about your LGBT efforts with veterans. Now, first of all, how did you get started in Project New Hope?
Well, about 9 years ago, I retired. Well, the VA put me at 100% service connected. I had got injured in the Air Force, and they told me that I was can't work any longer.
Okay.
So I also retired from the Commonwealth of Mass. I was a social worker with the Department of Labor, and working with a lot of disabled veterans. So being retired at 50 years old, my wife kind of was horrified at that thought. Of me being retired. And
was she horrified or jealous?
Probably both. And so I just saw, I've been very proactive with veterans, and you know, having a master's degree from Assumption College in counseling, you know, let me put it to use here, start volunteering.
Yeah,
so I started Project New Hope, offering free weekend retreats for vets and their families, and our goals are in survivor families. I just saw a lot of the vets coming back, and I was looking at them, and it was me, you know, with the PTSD, with the, you know, the depression, and a lot of things here. So, and that's how Project New Hope started. It started out of my home in Leicester. I just had a dream. I didn't know how I was going to pay for it. I just knew that I wanted to do something.
I absolutely love that. Now, even before I met you, which was maybe a couple years ago I met you, there was a big music concert in Shrewsbury, I think.
Right.
Now, even before I met you, I had heard of Project New Hope, and I had heard about the great work they do. Now, at these retreats, you must have lots of lists of psychologists and support groups that you can actually give that might help out these veterans and families?
Yes, Dale. At all these retreats, we do have a licensed therapist that is part of the retreat. He's located on Elm Street in Worcester. His name is Jim Bresnahan. He's been with us for about 5 years now.
I know that name.
You know, Jim.
Yeah.
And Jim has got a lot of licensure. He's very, I'll tell you, he's fantastic. Deals with a lot of veterans, deals with a lot of topics in the community and stuff that are stressing people out here. So he's on site to do maybe a little crisis management. If somebody gets overwhelmed with one of the workshops that we're offering, Jim is able to meet with them, and he's able to, you know, get them down to base level here. And a lot of veterans don't want to be seen at the vet center or be seen at the VA, the Veterans Administration. They'd rather go to a private duty psychiatrist, psychologist. So Jim is great.
Do you think that's because of pride? Is it their pride making?
Well, I think it's twofold. It's one, they're afraid that if the military branch that they're in finds out that they're seeking mental health, that they'll be discharged out of the military. Two, is it might show up on their records if they're going for, say, a police officer's job or a firefighter's job, civil service, that there'd be a record of that. So
Okay.
if they pay out of their pocket and they go
Absolutely.
to a private therapist,
Yeah.
that's all protective information. They can't get that.
Now, you also do a lot of work with LGBTQ veterans, and you have a specific retreat for the LGBT community, right?
Right.
I was absolutely floored and just so proud of you for that.
Well, you know, it's funny, 3 years ago, I'm always looking to add different things. And to me, a veteran is a veteran. And regardless of your political agenda, your sexuality, or whatever the case might be. And I presented this to my board. I said, listen, I want to offer an LGBT veterans retreat.
I'm so proud of you right now. I'm literally tearing up because that's amazing for you to do that. Thank you so much.
You don't have to thank me because it's, you know, it's
Well, I
just,
do.
all right, but thank you very much. So it was hard, and I'm reaching out, and it was the first one ever done in the country 3 years ago, and I did it.
Wow.
And I had a commanding officer, a 2-star general, tell me, Bill, thank you very much for leaning forward.
Oh, wow.
And so that's really, and my board of directors, my board, Kathy and Paul, have a son that's gay, and his partner was in the Army, a sapper, highly decorated Army soldier, and hands down we were doing this. So the first year I said, you know, how am I going to access this community? I'm not part of that community. How do I get these veterans?
How did you?
Well, it was a lot of footwork. It was a lot of telephone calls, a lot of emails to the Veterans Administration, the VA, putting up flyers. The first retreat, I had about 15 LGBT veterans attend. And there was some apprehension, you know, hey, who's this Bill Moore? Who's Project New Hope? Well, you know, why do they want to help us? You know, we've always been pushed away. And
Yeah.
So
Now, does the retreat take place at the same place every year?
every year, well, we bounce around, but we did this at Grotonwood Camp and Conference Centers, and
Okay.
it was an American Baptist church, and they own the campground. And I remember having this LGBT veteran come, and he says, you know, this is unheard of the Baptists allowing LGBT into their community here. So what I did as a courtesy is I reached out to Tony Pappas, who at the time was the head of the Grotonwood, the American Baptist Churches in Massachusetts. And I says, Tony, I'm going to be offering an LGBT Veterans Retreat. I want to give you a courtesy to let you know that I'm going to be offering this retreat. And I says, you know, if there's a problem, you know, and I can't do it, then I won't be doing any of my retreats here.
Okay.
And so Tony come back, and he's, Bill, thank you very much for the phone call. He says, you know, it's a new Baptist church, and he says, we support all, and it's part of our mission of who we are, and they're all God's creatures, and you're absolutely going to have that retreat here. And we've never looked back, and they came out and welcomed all my veterans from the LGBT community, and we had a woman whose father was a Baptist minister down south, and she says this would never happen
Down
years
south.
ago. And and I brought a special guest in. And my special guest was known as Christopher Beck, a retired Navy SEAL. Did multiple deployments, and he's now a woman. He's a transgender.
I am actually familiar with
Yeah,
him. Yep.
Kristen Beck. And so Kristen has come in now for the last 3 retreats, and she came in this past retreat with her wife. And it was she's in the Air Force, so she gets an A+ there, and it was fantastic, and it's just grown because those veterans that came to the LGBT retreat are my best advertisement. So they go back
Wow.
into the community and they say, you know, it's a safe environment. What they say, it's protected. They can be who they are, and I just think it's fantastic.
Now, you were nice enough to reach out to me to ask me to please attend some of this retreat, but I actually, because of a conflicting schedule for an event, I am so proud of you for doing this. Now, for our viewers who are watching at home, who are hopefully as moved as I am, where could they go to find out about this LGBT retreat, as well as your other retreats also?
Well, we're located down on 70 James Street in Worcester, Mass. We have a
Oh, you're located in Worcester, Massachusetts?
we're right
Okay.
next door to the Dance Ranch. So we're right at 70 James Street. We're all volunteers. None of us get paid. We're all
Right.
former military. We're veterans.
Yeah.
Gold Star moms, civilians. We call them our wives or whatever. But very supportive, and it's open to anybody to come down and visit. We're very active on social media. They can find us at Project New Hope Inc. on Facebook. They can find us on our website at www.projectnewhopema.org.
Which, as you're speaking, it is at the bottom of the screen. So viewers, please write that down. If you know a veteran, If you want to volunteer, you could always use volunteers.
Absolutely, all the time. All
Bill,
the time.
you are just a delight.
Well, I'm not a delight, but I'm. You know what? It just makes us better citizens.
I'm still laughing because you said I'm not a delight.
I know, but no, you know, it's just the right thing to do, and you know, and it's great to see this group get together, and we just had a wonderful time. It's that's all I can say. You have to really come to one next year and see it in action, and meet all these wonderful people, and it's
Please feel free to let your veterans and your LGBT veterans know that there is now a New England Pride TV show.
Well, if you get me the link, I'll put it up onto our Facebook page and our
absolutely
website.
will.
Absolutely. I appreciate, Dil, you having me on here, and just to get the word out to the LGBT veteran community, and that you're a veteran, that yourself and your spouse and your children are all eligible to come to our free veterans
And
retreats.
I don't care what you say, you are a delight.
All right.
So thank you. We will be back with more New England Pride TV right after this.
I'll be damned. Here comes your ghost again. That's not unusual. It's just that the moon is full and you happen to call.
And here I sit with my hand on the telephone, hearing a voice I know from a couple of light years ago, heading straight for a fall.
As I remember, your eyes are bluer than robin's eggs. My poetry was lousy, you said. Then where are you calling from? A booth in the Midwest.
10 years ago, I bought you some cufflinks. Oh, you bought me something. But we both know what memories can bring. They bring diamonds and rust.
You burst on the scene, already a legend, the unwashed phenomenon, the original vagabond, straight into my arms.
And there you stay, temporarily lost at sea. The Madonna was mine for free. The girl on the half shell who would keep me from harm.
Now I see you standing around with brown leaves falling all around, snow in your hair. Now you're smiling out the window of that crummy hotel over Washington Square. Our breath comes out in white clouds, mingles and hangs in the air. Speaking strictly for me, we both could have died then and there.
Now you're telling me that you're not nostalgic. Well, then give me another word for it. You were always so good with words and at keeping things vague.
So I need some of that vagueness now. It's all come back too clearly. loved you dearly. And if you're offering me diamonds and rust, I've already paid.
I've already paid.
And we're back on New England Pride TV. I'm your host, Dale LePage, and now it's time for our Coming Events segment. And I'm joined by my Coming Events co-host, the dashing Southern gentleman himself, Mr. John Troba.
Well, thank you very much.
Let's get started with Coming Events for Rhode Island. How's that?
Absolutely.
All right. Rhode Island, PrideRI.com is celebrating their 40th year on June 18th. There are many events listed, including Providence Gay Men's Chorus on May 21st. Then we're going to jump all the way from Rhode Island up to Vermont. How's that sound?
That sounds
All right.
dashing.
PrideCenterVermont.org has several listings for support groups as well as arts fiber groups on the 2nd and 4th Sundays. And they also have something really fun coming up. Hedwig and the Angry Inch at Pop-Up Pearl benefits Pride groups in Vermont. And that's happening on March 31st at 8 p.m. What else do you have?
Well, then we'll travel all the way south to Connecticut.
Let's go south.
At the Triangle Community Center in Norwalk, they have the LGBTQ People of Color support group on May 30th, and then their Pride in the Park, which is the big event of the year, is on June 5th.
Excellent. Now we're coming back to Massachusetts. We've got NoHo Pride. We've got nohopride.org. May 7th is the parade and fair at the Tri-County Fairgrounds. It is so big that Worcester Pride always has a table. Then we have in Boston, we have the Mr. and Ms. Boston Pride Pageant. That's happening on Sunday, May 22nd at Jacques Cabaret, 79 Broadway Street in Boston. And let's give a shout out to our friends at Club Cafe at clubcafe.com. They have always got great shows going on and always great music. And Jim, one of the owners of Club Cafe, is a big supporter of New England Pride TV. So, hi Jim.
We love that.
We love that.
And in Maine, we have Down East Pride Alliance, DEPAbusiness.com. It's also known as Southern Maine Pride. They have a networking event, which is very, very important, on May 17th called After Hours. And then the Portland launch party for Portland Pride is on May 13th, and you can find that at prideportland.org. And then we can go down to New Hampshire, or over to New Hampshire, I should say.
Okay, take us for a ride.
And in southern New Hampshire, which is, you know, my favorite part of any state, there are a variety of meetup groups, and you can find the Southern New Hampshire LGBT meetup group by typing that into meetup.com. And then there's a pretty special Women Singing Out, which is womensingingout.org, and they have their first event on May 15th in Portsmouth.
And then we're skipping right on over to the wonderful Hanover Theater in Worcester, Massachusetts. They have a great play coming. It is a musical, it is fun, it is uplifting, it is Kinky Boots. And you can find out how to get your tickets for Kinky Boots by going to thehanovertheater.org, and you can find tickets there. Hanover Theater is a sponsor of New England Pride TV, so thank you. And then we have Worcester Pride. Worcester Pride has an annual drag brunch coming up on May 22nd, and then Airspray's Queer Dance Party on May 20th. You can find out about that on worcesterpride.org. That's it for this coming event segment. We'll be back with more New England Pride TV right after this.
Thanks a lot.
Welcome back to New England Pride TV. Now it's time for our segment called Out with Joe, with Mr. Joe Mangiacotti and his adorable, cuddly sidekick, Teddy. What do you have for us this time?
Well, on this episode, we're actually going to do an event more than a restaurant, Dale. We're going to take a look at Strange Brew, and that is at 416 Boston Post Road in Marlborough, Route 20. And you basically brew your own beer and make your own wine. And they have competitions. Let's take a look.
Fantastic. Let's take a look.
On this edition of Out with Joe, we travel to Strange Brew at 416 Boston Post Road. That's Route 20 in Marlborough. This is not so much a dining review as it is an event. The Out with Joe crew arrived and found thousands of square feet of brewing and winemaking equipment. They have all the material you need, the ingredients, instruction manuals, and of course, the expertise. You can stop by Strange Brew Beer and Winemaking Supply in Marlboro for an afternoon of home brewing and winemaking demonstrations and samplings. Their home brewing demonstrations are the perfect time to ask your brewing questions, sample beers from the self-proclaimed pros, bring some of your own beer in for an objective critique. Bring a friend, rain or shine, free admission. Now, I was asked recently to participate in the judging. We arrived and found dozens of bottles of homebrewed beer. But before the judging, I caught up with the owner of Strange Brew. All right, welcome back here to Out with Joe. I'm Joe Mangiacotti. With me is Brian Powers, who is the proprietor of Strange Brew here in Marlboro. Brian, thanks for having Out with Joe in.
Hey, thanks for joining us, Joe.
A pleasure. So what is happening today? There's how many judges?
We have 6 judges, I believe.
All right, 6 judges, and we heard from Matt that there's about 38 entries.
Yeah, approximately 38 entries. I believe there are 8 or 9 different flights to drink, ranging from 6 to 9 or 10 beers per flight.
Per flight.
Per flight. So we're going to split up into groups of 3, 2 different groups of 3, and then 3 of us will judge a different type of beer. We'll do the IPAs or the stouts or the Belgian beers.
So how much beer am I drinking today?
That's up to you, really. I mean, you can. You're not allowed to spit. You're not allowed to spit the beer. This is not wine, so you do have to drink it. You're going to pick up the aroma. You're going to have a little taste. You can have a couple tastes if you like. We'll start with a 2 to 3 ounce sample of the beer.
Okay.
If you need more time, if you need a little more beer, we have a couple extra bottles. If there's a problem with the first beer, we always give you a second try. So we'll pop the second beer.
Okay. Well, when it came time to judge, there were dozens of bottles of homebrewed beer from dozens of entries. This is how it works. Strange Brew will provide all the ingredients for a 5-gallon batch of beer, except the water. Now, that's very important because the water will make or break that brew. And we found out that sanitation is the X factor here. Now, this is open to the first people to sign up, so kind of first come, first serve. Check the website to see what's going on in that regard. They will provide the patio to brew on, ingredients, and rinse water. You must supply all of the equipment and, as I said, the brewing water. Can't stress that that's so important. You take the brew home for it to ferment, and we ask that you bring back a 6-pack or reasonable equivalent for tasting during a subsequent brewing session. Now, you keep the rest, thus the free beer. Now, demos are held on Saturday and Sundays, weather permitting. Now, the front patio is covered, and there are other restrictions, so check the website to see what's going on there. You can check out the link on OutWithJoe.com. Thanks for joining us on this segment of Out with Joe. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and of course, OutWithJoe.com.
Hey Dale, it's me, Miss Lady Sabrina, and I'm here with another letter. Today's letter is from Ohio. Dear Lady Sabrina, I'm a single 33-year-old man, very lonely. I am having trouble finding a boyfriend. I tried online, and 2 guys were con artists, and the other 2 were crazy. So should I try gay bars and gay nightclubs to meet men? I don't want to die old and alone. Thank you for your time and have a great day. Signed, Lonely in Ohio. Now, this particular letter is very short, but the answer is going to be a little longer because I'm going to try and cover everything that's in this letter because there's a lot in this letter. All right, so here we go. Brace yourselves. We're going to learn something today. Okay. Dear Lonely in Ohio, your problem is a common one in this community, but not only the gay community, but the straight community, trans community, bi community, every color in the community. I think it's not so much about where you meet them. I think it's more about your screening process. If you're too eager, you'll wind up accepting behaviors that are less than what you would normally tolerate. Here's what I would suggest. Make a list. Actually, make 2 lists. First, things I don't want. And then the other list is going to be things that I want. All right? Now you get those. Now make that list very thorough. After that list is complete, we're going to break those 2 lists up into things they can't have, but things if they did have are deal breakers. And then you're going to take the other list and say, this is what they absolutely have to have. And if they didn't have it, it's still not a deal breaker. All right. So now you have 4 columns. But what you're going to do is you're only going to focus on the 2 furthermost columns, the have to haves and the absolutely can't haves, because those are going to be your dating Bible. That's what we're going to be using moving forward. All right. Now, also, when you're making this list, don't use it like to tailor it for someone, you know, like someone specific in your life. Otherwise, you will completely screw up the results and you're not going to get what you need. All right, this exercise is just for people moving forward. Now, you could use people from your past, that's fine, but in using this list to identify who's going to be your partner moving forward, you cannot tailor it. It has got to be generic. All right, now, how to tackle where to find them. I would love to show you a secret map where all the good men are hidden, but if that existed, I'd have been married a long time ago. And it didn't happen. The best way to find someone is to make yourself available and accessible. Good men are out there, but in most cases, they're as damaged and guarded as you are. You know, armed with your new list, seek out men or activities that you love. This could include signing up for a book club, fantasy football, local theater group, or any other hobby. I mean, if none of that works for you, then it's time for you to reread your personal ads on these sites. Look at them armed with your new list. See if you're putting out there what you really want, or, you know, are you wording things in a way that are still kind of leading with your insecurities? You know, you want to make sure that your wording isn't too, love me, you know, it's more like, I'm looking for someone, you know, who can fit into my life, but now you have your list. So you can automatically send people off, you know, start really eliminating quickly. All right. And here's the thing, you know, your ad should read what your wants are and what you're looking for and where you want things to go. If you've checked long-term relationship like on the ad already, then you don't need to explain that again. It's there. All right. When you get a response, chat over email, IM, or phone. Use your list to generate questions. If you hear something that falls in the can't have column, then don't let loneliness allow you to overlook it. Get rid of them. You know, if you're going to go to a bar, sit in the middle of the bar. Sitting in the middle of the bar where all the action is. Don't sit in the corner in the dark waiting for someone to magically find their way over to you. You know, sit at the bar and look around. There's a couple of things you want to look for. If you're interested in a specific person, but you notice they're like with a lot of people, chances are you're not going to be able to get that person on a one-on-one basis. You know, that person is there with their friends, and I would probably say maybe not a good time to approach them. If you see someone at a bar, sitting at the bar, now you don't know if they're single, so what you do, you ask the bartender, can you go over and find out if this guy is single? And if he's single, tell him I want to buy him a drink. This is a great way and a great introduction. And if he says that he's taken, no drink. You're not out of money. You didn't just throw yourself out there. You still were able to kind of feel it out. This is the stuff that we need to work on. I mean, the fear of dying alone is common as we get older, but don't let that fear push you into a situation that's going to be bad for you or short-lived, only to be back on the market within a month or less. I mean, try some of the suggestions in this letter. I know some may seem simple, but when you're actually putting energy into it, you'll be surprised how easy some things get. Things like eliminating candidates or coming up with topics of conversation. There's no magic answer to the question you asked, but hopefully, armed with these new tools, it will make you feel more in the driver's seat. I hope that helped. Love and light. Back to you, babies. Mwah!
Thank you so much for watching another episode of New England Pride TV. And as always, we like to end the show by saying, please do not be afraid to shine your light, because you might be lighting the way for somebody else. Until next time, thank you for watching. High five, baby.
Stand up, shout out, show us you got New England pride. Stand up, shout out, show us you got New England pride. Show us, you got New England pride.